Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Anne Marie, and today I'm going to discuss the 10 Things I Love About You, Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This is a no spoilers book review, so don't worry about me revealing any plot twists or ruining any surprise endings. The whole point of this is to give you an inside peek into the book. So here we go. Daisy Darker is about a family that gathers together to celebrate the 80th birthday of their grandmother, who was told years ago by a palm reader that she wouldn't live beyond the age of 80. True to the prediction, at the stroke of midnight, just before her 80th birthday, Nana is found dead. An hour later, the next family member follows, and so on and so forth, in a style similar to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. The first thing I love about this book is Daisy Darker. She is a narrator, and the story is told in the first person from her point of view. Daisy was born with a heart defect, and she wasn't expected to live past the age of 15. In Chapter 1, Daisy admits, quote, "Technically, I'd already died 8 times before I was 13. And if I'd been a cat, I would have been concerned. But I was a little girl, and I had bigger things than death to worry about." Unfortunately, her heart condition prevented her from attending school, making friends, and participating in the types of activities her 2 older sisters enjoyed. In Chapter 37, Daisy says that her childhood friends were Agatha Christie and Stephen King. Now, 29 years old, Daisy has defied the odds and considers every day a gift. She volunteers at a care home for the elderly, and her favorite resident constantly reminds her that the secret to having it all is knowing that you already do. The second thing I love about Daisy Darker is Daisy's description of families. Families are like fingerprints. No two are the same, and they tend to leave their mark. The tapestry of my family has always had a few too many loose threads. It was a little frayed around the edges long before I arrived. And if you look closely enough, you might even spot a few holes. Some people aren't capable of seeing the beauty in imperfection, but I always loved my Nana, my parents, and my sisters. This is found in Chapter 1, right before Daisy admits that the only person in her family who loved her unconditionally was her Nana. Nana is number 3 on my list. Born on Halloween, Nana prefers books to people. I totally understand that. She only says and does things once, and she never replaces something unless it is broken. As I mentioned earlier, years ago, a palm reader at a fair told her that she wouldn't live beyond the age of 80. So she decides to gather her family together the day before her 80th birthday to spend one last day with them, just in case the palm reader's prediction proves true. Years ago, Nana wrote and illustrated a best-selling children's book about a little girl named Daisy Darker. Nana borrowed Daisy's name for the book so that Daisy could live forever. The fourth thing I love is Nana's home, known as Sea Glass. Nana's house is a crumbling Victorian with Gothic turrets, a turquoise-tiled roof, and an exterior decorated with pieces of blue-green glass. With flaking paint, creaking floors, and old furnishings, it's a mini mansion perched on an ancient stone foundation on its own tiny private island just off the Cornish coast. Unfortunately, the crashing waves of the Atlantic Ocean, as well as centuries of wind and rain, have taken their toll on the property, and Sea Glass is literally falling into the sea. Because a natural sandy causeway joins Sea Glass's tidal island to the mainland, the house is only accessible when the tide is out and is completely cut off from the rest of the world at all other times. Nana has lived there since she was born, and unfortunately, this is also where she dies. This is not a spoiler, since this is disclosed in the description on the book jacket. Number 5 on my list is Nana's clock wall. The hallway in the Sea Glass house is filled with 80 clocks, one for every year of Nana's life. all different colors, shapes, designs, and sizes, and all ticking. Each clock was carefully chosen by her as a reminder to herself and the world that her time is her own. The collection includes 1 grandfather and 5 cuckoo clocks, so it's impossible to hear a thing at the top of the hour. The clock wall scared Daisy as a child because all the ticking clocks constantly reminded her that her own time was running out. Remember, Daisy wasn't expected to live past the age of 15, so every second of her life was precious to her. The clock nearest the front door is an antique wooden punch clock from an old Cornish factory. And since Nana has somewhat of an eccentric personality, she makes visitors punch in, so she has a record of how often they visit. The 6th thing I love about this book is that the story is told using a diary format. Most of the early chapters have a heading that includes the date and time. Then, starting with chapter 6, each heading also tells the reader how many hours are left until low tide. This is significant because once the tide comes in, the family will be cut off from the rest of the world and trapped on the island with each other and with all the ticking clocks until low tide. The story starts at 4 p.m. on October 30th and ends at 6:55 a.m. on October 31st. High tide is from 9 p.m. on October 30th until 6 a.m. on October 31st. So these are the hours the family is trapped on Nana's property. The 7th thing I love about Daisy Darker is Trixie. She is Daisy's 15-year-old niece who is described as a bookish teenager who looks like a miniature librarian. She is well-read, very polite, exceptionally kind, and only wears pink. Daisy spends a lot of time with Trixie because becoming an aunt was one of the best things that ever happened to her. In chapter 5, Daisy admits that watching Trixie grow up to become such a wonderful human being has brought her more joy than anything else. The 8th thing I love about Daisy Darker is the cryptic note left on the chalkboard in Nana's kitchen. The entire back wall of Nana's kitchen is a giant chalkboard, which she scribbles ideas and sketches on. Nana's best-selling children's book, Daisy Darker's Little Secret, begins with the line, "Daisy Darker's family were as lovely as can be." However, in chapter 9, after Nana dies, the family notices a poem written on the wall that starts with the line, "Daisy Darker's family were as dark can be." Each subsequent line then foreshadows doom for each member of the family. What they don't understand is why someone would write such horrible things about each of them. The 9th thing I love about this book is Nana's Scrabble set. Because Nana was born on Halloween, her rule was that nobody was allowed to buy proper presents on her birthday. They could only give her sweets. Not knowing this rule, Nana's literary agent gives her a hand-carved wooden Scrabble set with letters that contain real sea glass on the bottom and driftwood on top. Nana says it's the most wonderful gift she ever received. Throughout the story, old VHS tapes of home recordings are found in random places around the house with words on them. For example, the first tape is found at the end of chapter 12 with the words "Watch Me" spelled out using Nana's Scrabble letters. The 10th thing I love about Daisy Darker is that it is a beautiful and brilliant tribute to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. This is a thrilling, locked-room mystery set in a dilapidated Gothic mansion on a tidal island during Halloween. It's creepy, suspenseful, clever, filled with tons of twists and elegant writing, and it's so much fun to read, you won't want it to end. I love this book. It is one of my all-time favorites. I own a first edition, and I reread it every year around Halloween to remind myself just how much I love it. If you've read Daisy Darker and would like to add to my list of things to love, feel free to do so in the comments. Until next time, take care, be well, and happy reading.